Yeah. Okay, I can see it now. Let's go click go
Nice.
live on Facebook in 3, 2, 1. And we are live. Hello, everyone. Today I have the pleasure of welcoming Ruben Kanya to our Facebook Live. Ruben is a midterm rental specialist and investor who helps real estate investors and Airbnb hosts triple their rental income with fewer headaches by securing lucrative temporary housing insurance contracts. As the co-founder of Invested Escape, he and his wife Celine provide housing solution for displaced family by working directly with the insurance companies and relocation agencies. With the team based in Atlanta, Ruben has helped hundreds of investors acquire, furnish, and manage profitable short-term and mid-term rentals. He owns multiple properties between Atlanta and Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and oversees a nationwide network managing over 30 rental properties. Ruben has also co-founded the Midterm Rental Insurance Network, connecting investors with top insurance companies and temporary housing providers. Ruben, nice to see you, my friend. How are you doing?
My brother, it's been a minute, but we did it. We are here in the flesh, and I'm excited to be here with you, man. Thanks for
I
having
pre-
me. Thanks for the
Absolutely,
kind
it's my
intro as
pleasure.
well.
My pleasure. Okay, tell our audience about your journey.
Journey is a marathon, and the marathon continues. That's for sure. But just like everyone, I always was. Well, I shouldn't say just like everyone because I think I've always been curious, George, when it comes to
Mm,
and being non-apologetic, I should say, apologetic about building wealth and being an investor and not necessarily going left when everyone's going there. I want to go right just to find a very niche strategy, hence the background experiment, fail, learn, repeat. So just doing unconventional experiments to get unconventional results. But I have to say, when I been thinking about reflecting on the current journey that I'm on, and we're just getting warmed up, so super excited, is it just started from a place of education, right? Shows like what you're doing right now is a perfect example of how I was able to get started, is because people like you are able to share information. Bigger Pockets was a big community for me. I you know con- digested so much of that content, in but at one point I had to take action, and so when I took action, a lot of what I did was just doing it as a side hustle. And when I say that, is working a full time job, but also being very strategic in the kind of full time job that I had that gave me flexibility. And even still to this day, when I do a lot of my consulting, it's just by design allows me to build on the bigger vision, funding the dream. And I had gone through a few experiments before that. I was first getting licensed, doing wholesaling, selling homes, but or not really selling homes. It was I got a license as a realtor just to understand how I could help other investors and see how I could help them buy. Been involved with a few fix and flips, not with my own capital, but just even running the whole project and then selling it on the back end. And from that, I think you pick up a lot of different things. Okay, here's what I like, here's what I don't like. Here, every business is going to have a level of obstacle, and I always like to think whatever you choose, like what problems do you want to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I look at problems as opportunities. And I think the niche that I'm in now, there's opportunities to help families that are displaced, and there's homeowners on the other end, like ourselves, investors who have properties, who are in a position to be able to create a solution for them and get handsomely rewarded for doing so. I think that's business 101. You help someone, you
and you
you
get
are able
rewarded.
to gain profit and you get rewarded. That's business 101. So that's kind of like the fast track of how I got here. But just to put a little caveat on that, Levy, is one of the things that I had too was just it's not that it was a shiny object syndrome, but it was more of that what you probably feel when you go to like a conference or a mastermind and everyone's getting these crazy results that you're not getting. I asked a question that I had one of my buddies kind of say, like, how can I get, how can I start with what I have, right? And what I have is I didn't have homes with like infinity pools and these crazy design homes when I first got into short-term rentals. But I saw some of my peers in like different states who were just killing it, like $20,000 a month here and there. They got like this, tiki bar and all this crazy stuff that I didn't have. And I'm like, All right, well, I don't have that. So what could be true? What would have to be true for me to be able to make the same amount of money with the assets that I currently have? And that's how we kind of went down this path, which I'm happy to kind of unpack.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, there's so many opportunities that you just mentioned, right? I had Gabe on my podcast, and this is what happened as well. He said, "What do I have at this given moment? What can I utilize?" And he just took one room, converted this to Airbnb during shutdown, and it took it from there. Also, one thing
Yeah,
you said very powerful is, taking actions.
yeah.
People say knowledge is action. I think what you do with the knowledge, then it's
Mm,
powerful, right?
yeah.
Today we have all knowledge through our chat GPT, Google, whatever you want it. But if you don't take actions, nothing gonna happen. All right. For those who are unfamiliar, can you explain what midterm rental insurance contracts are and why they are such a game changer for hosts?
Yeah, sure. So I think just let's start with defining midterm rentals. I think first we should unpack that midterm rentals is
Please.
an in-house terminology that we use, right? So let's not kid ourselves that midterm rentals has been kind of a hot way for us to like convert short-term rentals to midterm rentals. But midterm rentals is temporary housing, and temporary housing has been around since the 1950s. And then when during the what was it, industrial, and then civil, and then
Yep.
you had this era of, okay, great, now people are working, and where are we going to house them when they're on the road, right? Hotels, yes, have been around forever, but temporary housing was always a thing for these corporations. So what we're talking about here is an umbrella of corporate housing. Why? Because it's B2B. Short-term rentals is business to consumer.
Mhm.
Some midterm rentals are actually still business to consumer, aka when we think of Furnish finders of the world, the travel nurses, we've heard of those. Like those have been
Yep.
around for quite some time as well. But I think what we need to understand is the difference between B to C, business to consumer, which is short-term rentals, aka Furnish finder, travel nurses, all that, and versus B to B, which is business to business, which sometimes you might listen to this and be like, oh, but I only have one property, what's business to business mean, Ruben? And just, well, it means that when somebody is laying their head on your pillow, you're officially in the hospitality business, and now you
Mhm.
have the opportunity to now do business, you as a business owner, whether you own one or a dozen or 100 properties, to then do business within other corporation. Now, because there are multiple corporations, they always say there's riches in the niches. We break it down even a layer deeper. There's corporations, there's construction companies, there's all sorts of things. And then there's insurance housing. Now, the insurance housing, what is that? It's a whole sector devoted to relocating families that are displaced due to an unforeseen event. Now, those families sometimes will be the ones who look for an alternative solution, but typically what will happen is those families will contact their insurance company, and their
Mhm.
insurance company, not to be mistaken, because we talk about insurance a lot, 90% of the time you're not working with the insurance company. The insurance company is too big to be working with you. They have a large book of business. They don't necessarily have a dedicated department for this, but they have a dedicated group of business um, alliances or relationships or strategic partners who are relocation agencies who
Mhm.
are focusing on finding these furnished accommodation, preferably, but not always, for these displaced policyholders. And a displaced policyholder is someone who owns an asset, who has insurance on it, and then something goes wrong, they have what is called this additional living expense, or loss of use, as we call it, for them to actually use that as a reserves to then be able to supplement their temporary relocation needs. And those can go for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Some, you even heard about people with fires in California are getting these 3-year contracts because of with
Wow.
respect to what your policy says. So it's important, a, for you to understand first kind of the industry that you're in, which is the temporary housing industry, and then within the sub niche of these insurance companies, and then how these insurance companies work with relocation agencies, which you will then be working with, and you can literally build your business by just working with these relocation agencies.
Wow. I first time I'm hearing about furnish and furnish. We can talk about more. I was under
Mhm.
impression it's better to have furnished units. What are the common misconceptions that landlords and investors have about working with insurance companies?
What are the what exactly?
Misconceptions.
About working with insurance companies, you say?
Yep.
Uh, I think that that you're working with insurance companies. I think an insurance company is not gonna be able to work with mom and pop
Mm,
individuals because they want to be able to focus on um a their business and b a company that can handle volume. And that's what these relocation agencies do, right? When you got an entire community that's being displaced through the fires, you don't go to the mom and pop Ruben as much as you listen to my shows and all that. Not there yet, not a big fish in the pond yet, but it doesn't mean you can't get a lion's share of the business because these relocation specialists need partners like ourselves who know that they exist. That's the big key thing. So the misconception is that insurance housing means that I'm working directly with insurance companies when really you're working with the relocation agencies and their specialists. So it's important that you understand what their needs are, how they work, so that you can best serve them with
mm-hmm.
respect to their timeline. A small example might be understanding what's important for them to have so that they can submit to the insurance company. If you're here and you're a rookie and they're saying, "Hey, is this home available?" and then you say reply yes, you're wasting their time, right? Because it's yes, and here's everything that I know you're going to need to be able to get this approved so we can move quickly. So the quicker you understand their needs, the quicker you understand that you need to disclose your address, you need to, right? These things need to happen. You're not playing ping pong here. Their name is speed and volume. The more that you can serve them, right? Having these templates ready to go for proposals because you know exactly what they're going to ask, instead of them coming to ask, by the way, is there a cleaning fee on that? You already having that out there is definitely something that you should get ahead of. And the misconception is maybe not knowing that, so you're thinking, okay, let me figure out how to reach out to Allstate or State Farm. You can do that, power to you. And if you do get a way in, call, BCC me. I want to be a part of that.
I want to
But
learn.
otherwise, I want to learn. I want to see it. I'm still learning. But otherwise, it's really a game between the relocation agencies.
Thank you. Which brings me to my next question. What are the key steps in closing a midterm rental insurance contract successfully? I mean, you mentioned not to go back and forth, providing with the data right away. What else?
Yeah, the more information you have, Levy, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might have your price top of mind, but then are you listening to the pain point? Are you listening to what they're saying? If you hear, yeah, they're looking at, I got a few homes that I'm looking at here for this family. Now I know that there's a few other homes that I got to factor in. If you hear someone say, Ruben, Levy, I haven't been able to find anything. Please, do you have something there? Now you also understand the situation. If you hear, hey, there's a fire going, or sorry, they encountered a fire versus a flood versus something else, then you understand, you have an idea of, okay, fire could mean anywhere for 6 months. I can't go crazy high because then I'll run out of their budget and it won't get approved. So let me actually adjust it and or position
Mm-hmm.
myself and give them options to see if here's my monthly rate, here's a 3 month rate, and here's a 12-month rate. And those shouldn't look the same, because you want to cater to the whole idea of, we see it everywhere, right? Everywhere there's like, hey, this is the monthly price for cable, but if you lock in for 12 months, this is the other price, right? Or you go to a website and you see there's 3 tiers. There's tier one, obviously less commitment, less strings attached, 1 month rate. This is
Mm-hmm.
different than the 3 month versus the 12-month rate. So you just got to do the understanding that the economics of how, obviously for a longer stay there should probably some kind of discount or at least incentive to get them to book longer, which will increase your occupancy. But just so those are some of the things. um Going back to your question, Levy, it's about understanding first. It's almost like sales, right? In sales, you don't just start selling without getting to know your customer. That's what KYC is, know your customer. Let me
Yeah.
first listen to all that you're asking me. Let me ask as many questions, I should rather say, to gather as much information, and then that builds a successful proposal. Because the less you are talking, the more you're listening to be able to address the pain points. The more you're talking and just coming up front out the gate with your price without even asking the right questions, is probably a recipe for maybe even missing out on a contract that you could have had. So I would say, just like anything, this is why I love doing what you do with the show, because success leaves clues. Just
Mm-hmm.
listen on the other side, and be inquisitive and do not be shy to ask the question. I've sometimes asked, what's the budget? And guess what? Because I asked the question, I get an answer. But you don't ask, you don't get. And sometimes it's a matter of course, I think the major success criteria in there too is building a relationship with the person on the other side, which is the relocation specialist. Because if you become likable, people want to do business with people that they like. And if you are flexible, then you're easy to do business with. So how can you problem solve for them by being flexible? And again, it being flexible doesn't necessarily have to be on price. It could be on some terms. It could be on your
Mm.
communication. It could be on how quickly you reply. It could be on, you know what, I don't have an answer for you, but let me connect you with this guy Levy, who's actually based out of this state, and he might be able to help you. Well, that is problem solving. That is being easy to work with. And honestly, at the end of the day, if you don't get anything else from all the laundry list of things that you can do to close a contract from beginning to end, it's just being relatable and building a relation with the person on the other side, aka focusing on the relationship. That's the magic potion.
It sounds like there's a negotiation process as well, back and
Mhm.
forth between the insurance companies, for example. What
Yeah.
do insurance companies typically look for a rental agreement?
Yeah, so I think a big one is flexibility. These insurance companies are looking for people who are going to commit, or I should say, they're working with multiple parties. One is the people who actually are going to be rehabbing the home. We don't know how long this stuff takes, right? The scope and the forecast and the timeline can always change. So they need to make a very conservative, you know, approach where they never want to overextend themselves and give more time than is actually needed. So they'll give less time. So what you can do, as I think a big pro tip, if you're listening to this, is you want to make sure you're giving flexibility. What I'll give you an example. Flexibility might be the reason why midterm rentals slash temporary housing is already flexibility in itself is traditional homeowners out there right now have 12-month leases, including property management companies, which I'm telling you right now, if you want to separate yourself from pack, get that out of window, which I know that's not your
Mm.
audience because they're here and you have the lovely midterm rentals emblem right underneath. So you at least understand that point. But you even starting with a 30-day stay is flexible. What might be another one? Do you prorate your days if I gotta check out on the 33rd day? Yes, yes, yes. Of course, yes. I want to make it easy for you. I don't want you to say, no, it's 30 days commit and 30 days out. Now, that might be maybe might think it's a good business move, but it's not going to be one that's easy to do business with because what happens if I check out on the 15th of the next month? Am I paying you a full month or am I paying you a prorated amount? So things like that give flexibility, prorated amounts. Notice to vacate. Do I need to give you a 30-day notice or a 15-day? You can imagine that
Mm.
if you do less, it gives them more flexibility and you're easier to work with. By the way, are you pet friendly? That's something you need to actually understand. I have a lot of homeowners, including ourselves, and under our households. Until we had done the math together, my wife and I sat and we're like, hold on, let's understand something here. If we don't want to have pets, they don't want to have pets. If they don't want to have pets, they're not going to be available, less opportunities. We're going to be pet friendly, right? And so that in itself adds, again, flexibility. Maybe it's the whole, oh, I need my first and last month. Okay, buddy. Well, this is a
Mm.
different space. You're going to need to be flexible. Maybe you even remove a security deposit and do a damage waiver. You got to solve problems. You got to be savvy. You got to be flexible. So these are just some of the things where if you're thinking you're going to go into the negotiating table with your terms and like, this is how I do business, you're going to cause a lot more friction and you're going to close more contracts. And because it's a small space, it'll come back and be like, okay, that guy's not so easy. That guy or that gal's
Mm.
not so easy to work with. You don't want that. So to answer your question, it's those flexible terms in a contract that make it easier again for you to do business with.
Understood. Thank you. What are
Absolutely.
some red flags investors should watch for when working with insurance funded tenants?
I think what you should be looking out for is I don't know that I would call it a red flag levy, but
Mhm.
I would probably call it as a just be on the lookout for anytime there's maybe pets involved, just
Mm,
have something in place for some kind of damage waiver or anything of that nature. uh Damage waivers, because for the most part these tenants are good, but just because you come from insurance doesn't mean you keep the property in tip top condition. Because we've had, for example, a property where gosh, they had a lot of first of all, they had an X amount of pets, but then one of the pets had gave birth to puppies, so then the number got out of control, which then we went back to the contract and said, hey, listen, you got to abide by the contract. But at that point I already knew it was going to be, pardon my language, just a terrible outlook for what we were going to expect on the way out. And what had happened is they had exceeded their security deposits and damages. And as a business owner, wanted to keep a good relationship with the company. They told me the only thing you can do is go after them. And I'm like, I'm not going to go after your client. So I ate that cost because I didn't
mm,
have a damage waiver in place. But if I did, uh, even if their security deposit would have exceeded, which it did, I would have had a backup plan with a damage waiver and a third party company. And there's a lot out there. I won't name it just because
mhm,
by the
mhm.
time this
Makes
comes out,
sense.
you might have so many different ones you could explore, and I don't want to pigeonhole you. But just go out there. There's a few out there that you can have a look at. Just be like, hey, I'm gonna have tenants, temporary housing. Almost call it like your equivalent of what air cover would be an Airbnb, or like what Wavo is to Furnish Finder. Find a good one for you, and at the same time also have some good insurance if you're going to do this long enough, like whether it's your home insurance or some other kind of liability that gives you that coverage, right? Maybe you got an umbrella policy or something fancy, but I think that's just a good thing for yourself. I don't think there's a red flag per se,
Mhm.
but it doesn't hurt to not
Stay
all
vigilant. Yeah.
do your due diligence. If you're going to want to do some background checks, you can do that or have the company do it. I personally, don't usually do those because um, just I know speed, right? By the time the background check comes in, like I understand how speed works, but what I do is I have strong stipulations that protect me on the contract, and I make the company also liable for anything that comes up. But so that's what I would say. I think it's
Understood.
less red flags working with corporate, but it's more of like make sure you got your damages taken care of, especially when there's pets on the premises.
Vivian says Ruben dropping jams for sure.
Oh
Thank you.
snap! We got. I told you we're gonna have somebody out here.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Vivian's in the building. I can't wait for us all three to connect in the flesh. We got a big
Yes.
event. I got Vivian dropping me some like, "Ruben, we should do this." I'm like, I know, I got it. We gonna work this
w-
thing out. And shout out to
We
Vivian.
will.
She's
Looking
she is
forward to see you
she is doing
guys
amazing
in.
things behind the scenes. I cannot wait for to see what you guys have in store. It'll be fun.
Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah,
think you coming San Diego April 20 something. Looking forward to meet with you
yeah.
again.
Thank you,
In
thank
the
you.
intro, you said that you help hundreds of investors. So would you mind please to tell me how does your team help investor acquire, furnish, and operate midterm rentals
Yeah, sure.
profitably?
Oh, absolutely. That's important. You can't leave that out.
Right?
No, no. So I have a one of the things, I guess one of my stories is building teams, right? I stand on the shoulders of giants,
Mm,
and so I am licensed here in multiple states, Georgia being one of them, and especially in Georgia, what we've done is a lot of folks who really want to invest there. They can connect with my partner. Shout out to Ashley Hanchett. She's amazing. And what Ashley will do is she's not your traditional realtor. I mean,
mhm,
the woman is an absolute beast. She literally has an MBA. She's a franchisee owner at the Subway. Like she's business minded. Her husband's like a closing attorney. So we have the whole entire kind of team where she will be, whether you're out of state, out of country. She's helped many investors. She's phase one. I come in as phase two,
mhm.
where I don't let you buy a bad deal with the combination of Ashley's knowledge and myself. And we'll do due diligence on the right deal with respect to our buy boxes because we know what these companies actually want. And then we kind of transition you into my mastermind where we teach you how to fish part of I think I saw had seen one of your questions that you had asked was around, you know, a lot of folks who will reach out to us is like, can you do this for us? No, like uh we've done some co-hosting, we've done some partnerships with people. We're very selective in our process, and
Mhm.
instead of doing the fishing for people, I get joy of teaching them how to fish. And we've had multiple investors from literally first time operators who are getting numbers they never could believe, and it's helped them go into the next deal and just fast track, right? Because you're thinking like back what I was trying to tell you my journey, I was like, all right, well, if I do this whole route, right, I was going the whole bigger pockets route, one door at a time, which is fine. This the kind of numbers that you're seeing are just like, okay, this is actually now a down payment for the next home, or
Mhm.
now I can take this for the next project. So that's been really fulfilling. That's where I get a lot of joy, being able to help others get into the space. And at the same time, guess what they're doing? They're serving other families. And out of that, we end up creating a collective network. I always say it's not competition, it's collaboration. So it's in your best interest. If you have someone in your, in your neck of the woods, share this episode with them, because now you guys can both do it together. That when they get an inquiry from a family, whether they can serve it or not, they can send it to you and vice versa. And again, you serve these companies once and twice and three times, you just continue to increase that trust, that relationship. And again, that repeat business is what we don't talk about. That's why I love B2B, because when I'm speaking to one relocation specialist or one person from that company, it's my brand. And if I do a good job with one of their clients, guess what they're going to be talking about during lunch? Not, well, I hope that they are, but I know it is. I know that's through an email introduction because I've had it, or on the phone. Guess who's like, oh, yeah, this is Ruben from such and such. This is Levy from such and such. You should work with him because he's helped me multiple times. And there's already that no like trust that carries over to their colleagues, and then next thing you know, into the entire company. So that's why I love that B2B model, and I would certainly encourage those to do that. And that's how I offer the service. I just teach people how to do what we were
Understood.
able to do. Yeah.
Yeah, about collaboration, we actually created a WhatsApp group with Midterm rentals providers in San Diego
Yeah.
area, give or take. And then if somebody needs something, they will post the request in the chat, and then we just collaborate together who can help each other.
Mm,
Um,
love that.
it's yeah, there's no
Powerful. By the
competition.
way,
Powerful.
there's you don't even think for a second, oh, Levy's already doing that. Like there's so much power in these micro masterminds, micro
Hmm.
networks, and it's just so powerful to do it with other operators who understand, who have the same core values and same a level of integrity and quality, because then you can feel very confident. And you know what, I always say you should be sending each other referral fees. You should be encouraging each other to grow each other's businesses. There's nothing wrong with that, and you should definitely be pushing for that, because that'll elevate everybody.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How do you handle situation where an insurance claim takes longer than expected, impacting rental income?
So you're saying if I'm not getting contracts or something of that nature?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So risk management, I think, is a point of conversation. I think anybody who sells you the moon, be like, hey, I guarantee you'll get an insurance contract using these strategies, just run in the other direction. That's not the truth. The truth is you can guarantee that you're best optimized. That's what I always guarantee, but I'm certainly not guaranteeing a contract, because at the end of the day, there's still a marketplace behind that we don't have the eyes on. There's a supply and demand, right? There's actual things need to happen in your zip code. I mean, if you think about it, it's almost like you take it for granted, right? Us being here is a miracle. Like, for those
Mm-hmm.
of you who are, conceiving a child, that's a miracle in itself. It's the same thing. You think about how the stars need to align. Something needs to happen in your area, and then out of the area, your property needs to be a good fit. With respect to distance and everything, then it needs to also be available. Then they need to walk it and then like it, and then we move forward. Like, now I'm saying all that, we do this all the time, but there's a lot of factors there that you actually can't control, right? There's a lot of things that you can, which is what we focus on. But for the things that you can't, like if it's like, it's not a good fit, well, guess what, I'm not going to sell you something that you're not aligned with. If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit, and that has nothing to do with what you did. right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
if it's like, it'd be nice if we had a grill. Guess what I'm doing? I'm buying you a grill. Between me and us getting the contract. By the way, I've done that, Livy. I've done it. Oh, you need more
Amazing.
for storage for your clothes. But it's guess what? I'm going back to the thing that I talked about earlier. I'm just listening to the customer. Tell me
Mm-hmm.
your needs, and I'll give you what you want. And if I can do it, I will. And if not, I'm even willing to find another property, either that's one that I own or in our network. That was actually one of our first deals. Our first deals, they had walked one of our properties. Then I asked them, if I can't tell you enough how people say that it didn't work out. I'm like, why didn't it work out? Oh, I don't know. You mean you
Mm-hmm.
didn't find out? What if all they needed was a big flat screen TV that cost you about like $300 on Amazon, because that's how cheap TVs are,
Yep.
and you didn't ask the question? You realize you just let a deal walk past you because you didn't ask the question of what would make this right? Like, that is such an important question. On a scale of 1 to 10, what did you think of the home? Oh, 8 out of 10. Oh, 8 out of 10. Levy, what would make it a 10? Oh, well, really? Now, I can't build you a garage overnight if that's what you need, but I do have a network in
Mm-hmm.
my WhatsApp group of people. You see, now you're actually solving. Oh, thank you so much. Because people don't think that they A might not know you have another one. They B might not even know that you could even buy them a flat screen. This is their first rodeo. They don't get displaced every other day. They don't even know who the relocation company is. I'll tell you all the time who you're working with. Oh, I think it's Katie from. I know. Trust me. We know
Yep.
their names better than you do because you haven't done
Absolutely.
business with them. Let me actually walk you through the process, Levy. You mind if I do that? Like, so now I'm actually taking the control and I'm having authority. And now it's like, you know what? I walked with this other homeowner, but like I didn't even get the sense that they were even sold. This person's telling me they've worked with the company, they're willing to be accommodative, and they're willing to. Those things can just that's in my control. That's in our control, right? But to answer your question,
Mm-hmm.
what we do is we like to have a backup plan. And that backup plan is, guess what? Where we started. We started in short-term rentals. So guess what we do in the interim? Short-term rentals. I just got a booking for another week with a family that just got relocated. I had a family in there for 3 months. Guess where they're booked? On Airbnb. Guess what I told them? By the way, we happen to be in the business. If there's anything I can do for you, we'll offer
Let
you
me know.
flexible extensions and everything, because that's what we do. We happen to be in the business. By the way, do you need a public adjuster? I have a great public adjuster. I'm trying to solve problems, building trust. That's what we're doing. But that's on Airbnb. So to answer your question, we do a hybrid model. Mostly, the beautiful thing, I'll quote Mark Cuban. He always says, you only got to get it right once.
One.
I'll caveat that. I'll say you only got to get it right once, twice, or maybe three times with the rentals, right?
Absolutely.
That's it. You don't have to have that many contracts. We'll have some contracts to be like, it's 8 months. I'm like, man, I forget how to do the short-term rentals things. Let me get back and guess what I'm doing tomorrow? I have a consult call with one of my buddies. Shout out to
Good.
Brian Hatcher, because he's like a genius in and just fine tuning. You guys should follow him. He's amazing. Brian Hatcher from Hatch Capital, and
Mm.
he's an amazing operator where he's super savvy with his. I mean, you name it. He's an analytics guy. He worked at a big four firm. Like he just understands numbers, rankings of like properties and all that. And I'm like, listen, brother, I'm still right now. I got two listings that are super still on Airbnb because we've been booked and busy and we love it. But now it's time to get back to ranking and optimize, because it's just as important for me to have a strong standing on the short-term rental platforms. So I'm still making revenue while I'm still working towards those long midterm, as we're calling them, temporary housing contracts that I know I will get because I have a great relationships. But I also understand it's time and place. So don't freak out if you don't get one for a couple weeks or even 1 month. I was just telling it to one of my mastermind members. I'm like, it's not, it's not if it works, it's when it works.
When it works.
Okay. You can't
Hopefully,
unlearn this.
hopefully you can connect me with him for my next
Hmm.
Facebook Live to provide value for our team members
Oh yeah,
here.
he's awesome. I'll get you,
Um,
Brian.
you know what you remind me right now when you keep talking about providing value. In his book, Pace Morby,
Mm-hmm.
in his last book, Wealth Without Cash,
Also
he was
cash,
talking
yeah.
about, yeah, he helped some lady with bunnies or something like that. She did not
But
close
yeah, the
the deal
bunnies,
with
yeah.
him. Yeah, and he took care of the bunnies or whatever.
Yeah.
And eventually, from that experience, the deal came into fruition, and then people started reaching out to him. So always help, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have 8 minutes left, and I have a couple more questions. So let's do
Nice.
two more questions, and then we're gonna go for fun question. If you could give one piece of advice to someone looking to break into midterm rentals, what would it be? Besides reaching out to you, of course, and to your team member, to your team.
Oh, I would say I would have a conversation with the relocation specialist because
Hmm.
they will coach you. And like what I would say, don't even be afraid of your first deal because they'll be like they'll ask you, by the way, is there this? Is there an admin fee? Then you might be like, there is
Mm.
now. Right? Like they're gonna ask you these things. So you don't even have to have it memorized. They're gonna send you an email that says, here's what I need from you. And that's gonna be you want to talk about learning on the fly. That's like, okay, great. And I would say do not I literally recorded an episode recently called Ask Anyway. It's on my show. And it was
Mm.
just a solo episode because like the quality of questions that you ask will get you the quality answers, right? And sometimes people are just not asking enough questions. I was literally on a mastermind call with my partner Rachel Gainsborough, and like I was telling these guys, I'm like, yo, you guys need to ask me more questions. Like, how am I sitting here on a Q&A call and you're not asking me questions? Like, I get in rooms and I'm drilling people. Like I was just on the phone with my CPA because he's a brain. He's like cost segregation specialist, enrolled
Mm.
eight, you name it. His credentials
Bonus
are crazy.
depreciation.
And
Yeah.
yeah, he helped us do one of those. So I'm like asking him, what about this line? What about that? He's like, is that the same thing as this? And I'm like, listen, I know it's busy season, but I gotta ask you one more question. You know what I asked him today? I asked him about, I'm like, how do these NBA players when they're
Yeah.
like playing in Canada for the Toronto Raptors, how do they do their taxes? Because he has like NFL clients and all those guys,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh yeah, it's a nightmare. It's even a nightmare for people like imagine like a Taylor Swift when she goes on tour. She's going on like Asia, Europe, etc. They have to pay taxes for like everybody wants to get a piece of pie. And I was just asking, and I think the reason why you gotta be, I would just encourage everyone to just be curious in the things that you're doing because you might think things or you don't know what you don't know. And this is why I love the space because I'm still learning things every day, man. I'll be
Yeah.
talking to someone like, really? That's how it works? Like I found out recently, like the people in fires and stuff like that in California, like they can actually take their ALE out of state. I was like, wow,
Mhm.
I didn't really think of that. Like that makes sense. So you might get an inquiry if you're optimized correctly in like Arkansas or something about a family displaced, moving back home closer to their family, and they're hitting you up with a 2-year inquiry, and you're looking like your jaws dropping on the ground.
Uh-huh.
But then the crazy part is if you're not privy to this information, you might be like, nah, this is a scam.
Mm.
Right?
Amazing.
Isn't that
Yes.
crazy? Like
Yes.
it's just knowing what you don't know and being open to asking questions of how things work. You will literally get ahead of the business by asking as many questions as possible that people years in the business haven't ever asked. And then when you ask that, it helps you ask
Better questions.
the better
Absolutely.
question next, and then you get better information, and then you can make better proposals, and then you have a better business. And here we are,
Yeah.
right?
Continuous feedback loop. What is the next for you and Invested Escapes? Any exciting project on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just focusing on helping as many home investors as possible because I can help. I believe if you help as many people get what they want, you can have what you want. I think down the road, and there's definitely like a software as a service that I think is
Mm.
on the horizon. The only reason I'm not tackling it now is because I know that there's other things that need my attention, and I quickly realized that when you focused on something and put all that focus, you get a lot more quality and better results than when you're kind of spread too thin. And you're like, I'm running 8 different businesses. Great. Well, how are they all doing? Right.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
but I definitely, I like I'm a tech guy. Like I do have a technology background. I build systems for corporations. I'm a management consultant. Like I'm very system operated. I think there's a huge opportunity to, uh, solve another problem for us on the other end. You streamline the operations of this entire system. And there's so many buckets. You might say, well, Ruben, which one? It depends. It could be fulfillment. It could be outreach. It could be a lot of things. And so
Yeah.
I do see that as an opportunity just because I kind of have that eye and I've been in this space kind of enough. And anytime there's like something repetitive or something is a little archaic, you're kind of like, well, there's an opportunity here. I see that as a later project, so don't be surprised. But for now, my goal is just to help 1,000 plus investors nationwide at least understand this and add this as a strategy to their
Amazing.
portfolio, so
Amazing.
that together we stand stronger, united.
Thank you so much. And the last question, we're at time. Where can people connect with you or learn more about midterm rental insurance strategies?
If you want to learn more about midterm rental strategies, just go to my YouTube channel. It's called Midterm Rental Insurance Experiments by Ruben
I'll put the
Kanya.
link in the comments
Uh,
later.
there's over 1,000 videos. Like I take pride in just recording quality content, and I love when people are like, "Hey, I don't watch your video." It's just that's where I put all my community service content, as I call it. If you want to see a lot of my day to day, it's more Ruben Kanya handle on Instagram, uh, and just DM me, say you like this episode or whatever it is. Just connect with me, and then from there you'll probably be able to just stay in touch with things that I'm up to, like doing pop-ups events, like the one we're doing this, next April, and webinars and things of that nature, and educational content. Love it.
Thank you, Ruben. I just
Yeah,
posted your YouTube channel in the comment
nice,
section. I appreciate your time, your wisdom. It was amazing. I have a couple notes that I took, and looking
nice.
forward to see you again.
Hey, let's make it happen, man. We're gonna see each other. We're gonna be in your neck of the woods. So let's have a good
Absolutely.
time in San Diego. We'll plan that. No, Vivian and I are cooking up some stuff. We'll have some announcements to make soon. But we had a great event last year, and we're
Oh, I
gonna.
was there.
Yeah,
Yes, it was amazing. It was
yeah,
sold out. It was so many amazing people
yeah,
and connecting with like-mind investors, and it's
yeah.
just mind-boggling.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Can't wait.